One thing we can all agree on is that the first time you open Unreal Engine, it's pretty intimidating. Now for me, I opened it 3 or 4 times, shut it again, had a little click around, left it for 6 months, came back, and then eventually just started to chip away. So let's have a look at our first 5 minutes in Unreal Engine, just to get orientated. So we have our main window, we have tabs here that we will populate when we open other actors and assets that are in our content folder, our content browser down here. Top left, place actors. So we have our basic set, which has got a few bits of geometry and a basic light, etc. And then we start going into subsets. So we have a whole host of different types of lights. We have some presets for virtual production, a simple camera and a virtual camera actor. Cinematic related assets, so a crane and a rail rig, and a camera, which you would use in conjunction with adding a level sequence and adding a master sequence, and then also the sequencer down here, which is like a sort of timeline control similar to After Effects. Visual effects are visual effects in the world. So we have an exponential fog height, which we actually already have in the world. So if I look at our world outliner in the top right hand corner, that shows us everything that is currently placed in our world. So that is a visual effect, exponential fog height. And then we have other things here. So planar reflections is for high quality reflections. We have clouds, again, we have that in our world outliner, so we can see how we turn that on and off. There's a bit more basic geometry. Media will be empty because I haven't added any. Volumes are a whole host of ways of zoning off parts of the world with different functionality. So for example, an audio volume you would place, you would set the bounds, and when you walk into that volume, a sound will play, for example. And then all classes just shows you all the actors you're able to place into your world. So that sort of looks very daunting. But coming into here, most things have got a tooltip, rollover state, and then also a way of clicking through to the Unreal documentation. So you can also always kind of read exactly what effect you'll have by using some of the different controls for each of those actors. Now, we've touched upon the world outliner. That just shows you everything that you've got placed in your world. Now, when I click on each of these, you'll note that the details panel below updates. The details panel is contextual, based on what you're selecting, ultimately. And that just, you can always move this stuff around, but I tend to, this is a kind of default layout, really. Now the world settings, we've got here world, we have level, and we have map. The three kind of mean the same thing. And then coming down to the bottom left, our content browser gives us our folder structure of any of the assets that we have already imported or started to create. So for example, here in maps, we have, see, it's called level, but it's actually a map. This is what I mean. This is where the kind of language starts to become interchangeable. You can click on here to just get more of a sort of traditional list view of all the folder structures, but they just relate to the folders that you have here. You can filter different content types. You can add different content types. So these are all different bits of functionality within the engine. So just have a little look around, just get orientated. The control bar at the top gives you access to a few things. So under mode, you've got other control to start building landscapes, adding foliage to those landscapes, and then kind of geometry related brush editing and mesh painting. and we'll go over each of those in more detail. But that just kind of gives you an overview of all the panels that we have. Output log is in relation to when you're playing your game or your experience, and the output log will just list any errors that you can start debugging as well as your message log. Will give you other runtime errors in there. So I know it's a bit intimidating. There's lots of tabs, there's lots of things kind of embedded, hidden, there's drop downs everywhere. Just give yourself half a day just getting orientated, drag a few things into world, see what's happening, see what you can affect, and just chip away.
Live long and prosper.